Let's talk about monorepos. So, what is the monorepo? So, if you look it on Google, let's see what we find. So, basically, a monorepo is a version controlled repository that holds many projects. So, let me open my GitHub. Here, I have all these repositories like QueryFlex, dashboard using WebSockets, Google Sheets, ChatGPT React, and all. Each repo here, like QueryFlex or React Google Sheets, they are known as polyrepos. So let me write it here again. Okay, add this. We need to write polyrepos. So polyrepos means a single repo which contains the code for a single application. Only a single application like this. So this is known as a polyrepo. Opposite to this, we have something called monorepos, which means a single repo which contains the code for all the apps in an organization. For example, there is a company named as Google. This company has a monorepo which contains all the code of this company. This is known as a monorepo, a single repository which contains the code for all the apps in the organization. Now let's understand, why do we need a monorepo? There can be many reasons. For example, let's say we are using something known as material UI, or we can say semantic UI, or even art design, or any other UI library such as these three. So Google owns multiple apps such as Gmail, then we have YouTube, then we have Google Drive, then we have like Google Sheets, then we have Google Docs, and so on. Like Google has many apps under its belt like Gmail, YouTube, Google Drive, Sheets, and Docs. So, what if they wanted to have polyrepos instead of monorepos? In that case, we had to install these libraries like MEUI, Semantic UI, or Undesign in each repos. Like, suppose we had a repo for Google Drive, or YouTube, or Sheets, or Docs, or Gmail, and such. So we needed to have polyrepos for them. In that case, we had to add libraries one by one. So let's say that we have polyrepos in Google, not monorepo. So we had to build a button and broadcast it to Gmail, YouTube, Google Drive, Sheets, and Docs. To do that, we had to add common buttons in each of them separately if we are using polyrepos. But if we used monorepos, we just need to make a button such as a common button, and we can just use them in all of them, like in Gmail, in I can say YouTube, or in this Google Drive, even Sheets, and even Docs, and so on. Similarly, we have a common input element basically from MEUI or material UI. So in this case, we don't need to install it in each repo if we are using monorepos. So we just have to make one file where we have to install dependencies and then use the dependency like MEUI or semantic or undesign in each of them. We don't need to install it in each of them separately. And one good thing that it does is, let's say that the current version of MEUI, let me open. So let's suppose the MEUI is having the current version as 2.0 and it has been installed in each repo separately, the version 2.0. So let me write it here. So the current version that has been installed in these ones are 2.0, and we are using common input button or anything in these separately in the case of a polyrepo. But what will happen if the version will change? Let's talk one more example here. Let's say React router. So the current version is 6.4. So let's suppose we have React router here. The current version was, let's say, 4.0 in all of them. So what if the version changes from 4.0 to 6.4? What we need to do is now upgrade the version in all of them separately. Then we have to replace something known as use history with use navigate in all of them, because that's the change that we got in 6.0. I mean after 6.0. So in that case, we have to upgrade all the dependencies of React router in all of the repos that Google has. I am talking in the case of polyrepos, which means single repos for each of the products Google own. But once we have monorepos, one single repo which contains all the code for the company, which includes Gmail, YouTube, Google Drive, Google Sheets, and Google Docs. In this case, we don't need to upgrade the dependencies from 4.0 to, let's say, 6.4 separately. We just need to do it once because all the dependencies is stored in a file called package.json. So once we have a monorepo, we only have to have one package.json, and it will have all the dependencies a project has, like MUI or React router. Just need to upgrade once in this package.json and we're done for all of the apps a company owns, like Google. This is the advantage of using monorepos. One more good thing that we have while we use monorepos is we have shared code in single repo. So if you clone, let's say, the repository of Google, we will get all of these 5 repos like Gmail. I mean all of the 5 apps like Gmail, YouTube, Google Drive, Google Sheets, and Google Docs. So suppose today you are working on, let's say, Gmail and fixing a bug. But tomorrow, if you want to fix a bug or need to fix a bug in, let's say, Sheets, so we have to clone it again, install the dependencies, and fix the bug. But if you use monorepos, we don't need to clone it again. We can just clone it once and go from Gmail to Sheets from the code. Now, one big problem monorepos can have is the size, because it can get pretty big once we use monorepos because it has all the code. And if we have a bigger size, this means we can have slower repository, or I can say slower code. So if you have a slower code, basically that is not the word I was looking for. It is the wrong word. I can say bad performance. And that is because it has to recompile each one of them, let's say Gmail, YouTube, we can say then Google Drive and Google Sheets and Google Docs. The size will be big of the repo because it's a monorepo, not a polyrepo. Size is big. It will take time to compile and generate the bundle for each of them, and that is why we can have bad performance if we use a monorepo. So how do we fix it? I mean the size and what is the fix for bad performance? Thankfully, we have tools like NX which can handle monorepos for us. We don't need to create it on our own, like one repo and all the apps in one monorepo. So this is NX. NX is a build system with built-in tooling and advanced CI capabilities. It helps you to maintain and scale monorepos and run both locally and on CI. Okay, one more thing that I want to mention here is, let's say you have changed something in Gmail and let's say Google Sheets, or two persons are working separately on Gmail and Sheets. So if you want to deploy the code for Gmail and Google Sheets while using polyrepos or multiple repos, we have to do it separately. But if you use monorepos, just need to push this once using CI/CD pipeline and it will be deployed. This is the tool that I was talking about. Yes, NX. Basically, it was built using Rust for speed and TypeScript for extensibility. Yes, it says here. You can go ahead and read the documentation here. So we have a lot of features using NX. So for example, NX can also support multiple frameworks or libraries in one single repo. So if I write it here, okay, what is the name? NX. Or let's make this as NX. What is the name? Monorepos. Monorepos. So first of all, as I said, a tool to handle monorepos efficiently. So this comes with this first feature, a tool to handle monorepos efficiently. The next thing it has, if you open get started or just click documentation here, let's jump on the features here first. So these are the core features of NX here. So we can generate code using a plugin generator or local generator. It also has caching, which means let's say that we are not changing YouTube, Google Drive, Google Sheets, or Google Docs, but changing Gmail. This will not affect the rest of the code like YouTube or Google Drive. It will only build the Gmail part of it. So I can just now say here, yes, it has caching, which means one change will not affect the build process of the other. Which means if we change one part of the code, or let's say one app, let's say Gmail, it will not affect YouTube or Google Drive or Google Sheets. And in this case, the build will be faster.